Hello, everybody. It is Saturday. It is 8 p.m. Eastern. And when it's Saturday and 8 p.m. Eastern, a lot of people who aren't as mature as us, they're out doing naughty habits right now. Fiscal, would you like to inform us on some of the naughty habits?
So I've heard that there's this stuff called alcohol. They might be drinking out at the bar,
It could be.
maybe doing some awful karaoke while they're at it. I
Oh,
heard that some people go out back and they like spark up a little bit of they spark a
support
doob.
support Altria Company,
Well,
perhaps?
sometimes support Altria, sometimes light up a doob.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Still support Altria, Kronos Group. That investment obviously isn't paid off, but
Of course,
still,
but only if they're Canadian.
of course.
That's a hint.
And speaking of Canadian guests,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, today we have a good one. I hinted the last couple of weeks we have some good guests lined up, and we still do for next week. But today we have the dividend investor on. The dividend investor, he's a CPA, he's a Canadian investor, avid fan of Costco stock. Welcome in. Happy to have you on.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Hello, Fiscal. I don't think we've
You're,
had the pleasure, but
you're
nice to meet
sounding
you as
good, buddy.
well.
This is exciting.
Yes,
This is one of the initial guests that I've been really excited to ask, more about the Canadian side of, investing, because that's somewhere, I have a few questions personally that we're going to get into tonight. And we also want to let everybody get in here. We have a bunch of preloaded comments, but Dave, would you like to introduce yourself to anybody who may not know your channel? Plug anything you need to now.
I'll do my best not to plug. That's not the goal of my channel, as you know. But basically, I'm a CPA here in Canada, and for those that don't know, that's a chartered professional accountant. And again, my background here and my channel, I've been in the accounting world for the past almost 15 years. I've seen a lot of experience in terms of auditing, analyzing different companies, analyzing different stocks, looking at how businesses work. And I try to show that on my channel, but in a viewable and educational way. So that's basically my channel. The whole goal of my channel, like you know, Ryan, and possibly you, Fiscal, I just want to educate people. This is just a platform for me to help other investors and share what I've learned on my investing journey. So we basically look at high quality stocks and we try to follow them over their long-term business cycle and invest in opportunistic opportunities.
I like that. There's nothing. How long? Well, would you like to start? Like, when did you begin investing? How did you kind of get interested in it? And when did you really start getting? I call it the dividend investor addiction. When you get that first dividend payment, you get that dopamine hit, you get excited.
Yeah, for sure. My investing journey is actually pretty funny. I wasn't focusing on dividends because when I first started investing, I really knew nothing. I was throwing darts at a board just like everybody in Canada. I'm not sure if you guys saw that initial weed stock rush, but I was a big part of that. I was in a couple private placements. I got to capitalize on that, taking some companies IPO, investing in their initial seed rounds. So we had a bunch of companies like Aurora Cannabis, Canopy Growth, T-God, a couple of these ones. So I just by luck, 10x my money on a couple of those ones, and then got out before legalization. And then I started to really peel back the layers of investing and found out that I was really gambling. So that was just gambling. I might as well have gone down to the casino and rolled a couple pair of dice. That's basically what happened. I just got lucky. And then I started getting those dividends. And once that first dividend payment came in, just like you said, it was a couple of cents and then it came to a couple of dollars, and it kept building and building. And that was the real addiction to dividend investing. Just like, Ryan and Fiscal, when you get that dividend payment for essentially doing nothing, it feels really good.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the you always hear that free money argument. You always hear, when people are, they're obviously, dividends, like tax wise, obviously there's a deficit and all that. But I still think the factor of having your shares manually reinvest, getting, that passive income, you don't have to work for it, and having your money earn money, compound interest, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and people may have their say one way or the other about how they feel about dividends, but I don't view it as any different than if you bought like a rental property and rented it out and got that monthly cash flow from it. It's passive income. In fact, the dividends are way more passive than the rental income in most cases, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed, fiscal. The other point is when we say passive, if we're actually researching companies and doing that, that's work too. So we are putting in work to get that income. Those dividends, even though they're passive income, we're still doing the initial research. That's time. We
Yep.
have a value per our own time of money, which you could be doing otherwise or other activities to generate additional income. But we're investing. So I guess you could say it's passive. Maybe it's not. It's always up for debate.
Yeah. All right, we got a first question in here from Eric, and he asks, "Does the dividend investor believe that
No,
MPW is?"
no, no, no.
We're we're saying MPW as many times as we can for the algorithm right
We
now.
are. That's a true fact.
Sorry to interrupt. MPW, but no.
Yes, I personally agree. I don't know if Fiscal would, but we all have our this is what I love
No,
about our channel.
I'll categorically disagree, but that's all right.
This is what I love about our channel. We have different perspectives, different ages, different opinions on stocks, and that's what makes investing. You know, I think that's the great thing about it. But I have a question. I want to talk about Canadian bank stocks, because we've talked a lot about this in the comment section over the last couple of months.
For sure, for sure.
So Canadian bank stocks, I understand the monopolistic argument, but when you look at their performance, a lot of it's like it's kind of trading flat. I'll pull up a chart here of just TD for an example. It's just kind of flat. I do understand, like, that's like the one thing that's kind of halted me potentially starting a position. Like, I understand it is very monopolistic, along with the 5 or 6 other Canadian banks you said, but like, if it's so, my thing is just I see a lot of like it trading flat with a 5 or 6% dividend yield, and that doesn't, for me, like scream like Costco, kind of like, you know what I mean, just that kind of like compounder stock.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And yeah, while you're pulling up that chart, I'll give some context. So with banks, like you said, we have the monopolistic ones, and for your viewers, I'll reiterate, we have the big five, or I guess you could call them six now. We have TD Bank, that's the second largest. The first largest being Royal Bank (RY). Then we have Bank of Nova Scotia, CIBC or Canadian Imperial Commerce Bank, Bank of Montreal. Those have been the traditional five largest monopolistic banks. And then the smaller, more Quebec player here, that's been National Bank or NA. So yeah, so like you see on that chart, Brian's pulled up Royal Bank. So
Mhm.
that right there is our largest bank by market capitalization. They are monopolistic, but like you said, looking at the returns, there are time periods where they're flat. The key with these banks is buying them at very attractive valuations. When you
Mhm.
buy them at that attractive valuation or that dip when that happens, that's really the time frame that's most relevant for you. Now, a lot of
Mhm.
people, they like dollar cost averaging and they build up their position over time. But it depends on what time period you're looking at. So I can totally concede and agree with you there. When you're
Mhm.
looking at it on a specific time period, it might show up as flat, but it depends on which time period you invested. Now, again, like
Yeah.
you said, compared to Costco, Costco is just a totally different business.
Yeah,
That thing is
definitely.
just
Yeah.
that's just a monster. That's just going to keep growing and growing, and the valuation on that, you're paying over a 40 multiple compared to the banks, which traditionally
Yeah.
trade at 9 or 10 or 12 times. So
Yeah.
it's more of that valuation, but I do agree with you, and that's why a large percentage of my portfolio is not just in those banks.
Yeah. When do you think would be like, when was the last opportunistic time, do you think, to buy into these banks? I'll pull up the chart. I'll pull up the chart again once here to kind of give context.
For sure. Like anytime you have those crashes, like that 2008, 2009, again, anything you could have hit a dart on any board for the past 10 years and made money regardless. But any of those times, you would be seeing large gains. And again, when you see these interests, it's always a little tricky with the banks. You want to try to buy them when they're trading close to their book value, so their
Mhm.
actual asset value. And that again can be hard to time because a lot of times, if they're big banks and you got to pay up for that mode, they're trading higher than that specific book value a lot of the time. So it's
Mhm.
always comes down to that. Oh, hey
Yeah.
Ashton, hope you're doing well.
Yeah. We got Ashton in the chat. He's a big fan. Mentions. I would just, yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to say, but there's like companies, for my time horizon, at least like 40, 50, 60 years, where I feel like anytime is a good buy. Like, kind of an example, Visa, Costco, those kind of things. So I can understand, though, where you want to potentially time. It's almost like oil as well. If you would have bought like some of the oil giants back in like 2020 or whenever the last crashes where you'd have crazy returns, but then you pull up the last few years and it's just like kind of flat. So I definitely do see your point there, and I didn't know. So thank you for
Yeah.
the clarification.
No worries. Yeah. And like you said, it's all in your time horizon. That's probably one of your largest, if not the largest consideration, is looking at your time horizon. For me, 10 to 15 years, I could possibly be living off these dividends. I do want a portion of my portfolio to be in kind of steady eddies that I know
Yeah.
might underperform by 1% or 2, but I would be willing to pay for that underperformance, just for that safety net. So
Yeah, that trade-off has definitely been a topic of conversation, I think, recently. The trade-off of like stability and less volatility between like total returns compared to the S&P 500 or whatever. It's real. It truly is like situation to situation for different types of investors. But do you currently reinvest your dividends?
I do. So
Nice.
the amount of dividends that I get, again, for people who haven't watched my channel, I don't share my total portfolio value of all my portfolios on my channel. It's roughly about 20 to 30%, depending on what the market value is. So
Hmm.
I really only show a smaller portfolio on my channel. So for that portfolio, I do reinvest all the dividends. And
Nice.
then for the other portfolios, they are mostly reinvested, but I do save some cash on the side, depending on where we are in the business cycle.
Nice.
Is there any specific like percentage you try to keep in cash at any given time?
Yeah, so like Ryan's been doing, I've kind of been building up my cash position. So as the gains have been nice, I have this over tendency to buy. And I think a lot of people have that tendency as well. Again, if you're averaging in and you're buying ETFs, that's a different story. You don't have the time to look at individual holdings. But I do have a plan to keep about 10% of my portfolio in cash. Roughly right now it's closer to about 7. So I have been building up that cash position. And I do want to keep that around 10 and possibly 15 if I can. So
I
Yeah,
could
I've got
definitely
like 8 or 9% too.
I can definitely relate on wanting to buy stocks whenever stocks go up still. Even more when they go down. But we did also have a few questions from our Discord, which if you guys didn't know, we post out a community forum a few days before to ask any questions, and we'll cover them in the chat. So I shorty asked the first question, and he asked, as a Canadian, and I'm assuming this is directed towards you, Dave, but he asked CP or CNI, Railroad Giants.
yeah, so on my videos, I made or on my channel, I made videos on CP, less so on CNI or CNR, the tickers on the American and the US exchange, or American and the Canadian exchanges. But they're both great companies. Like, railroads are monopolistic, oligopolistic, whatever you want to call them. I don't see them going away for the foreseeable future. They're going to be here. They're very efficient. Now, the difference between CP and CNR or CNI is they did get that approval for Kansas City Railway. So now they have that railway which they can then earn synergies on in terms of their track. But CNR was still technically larger and has a larger presence in Canada. Again, valuation wise, CP is on the higher end. You're paying for that growth. CNR is a lower valuation. But in my opinion, I hold both. I have a larger allocation to CP because I have a longer time frame. But again, if you held 50-50 for CNR or CNI and CP, that's a great approach as well. Even if you have more CNI than CP, that's also a great approach. They're both great businesses. And if you're looking for having one of those very portfolio resistant stocks, those two are really key in my opinion. And the Canadian railways, again, not nothing to bash the US.
There's Union Pacific exists, too.
Yeah, nothing against the US, like Union Pacific or NCS or Norfolk Southern or any of those other ones. The Canadian ones are just run better. They're run better. When you look at their safety scores, they're way higher. They have a lot more safety measures or controls in place, cameras on tracks. They monitor those very closely. So when you have higher investments into safety, that should equate to less accidents, less negative news,
Mhm.
less financial settlements, etc. So that for that reason, I would argue that you own both.
So has that reflected in the financials? Has it really differentiated so far when you compare the both? I could pull up CP versus UNP, but I'm sure there's countless examples.
Yeah, yeah. UNP again. You can compare CP and UNP. I would possibly argue to compare CNR or CNI and UNP, but basically it has translated to less accidents, and you can see it. And when you look at the investments made, you'll really see that. And like UNP is great. It's a great company. It's just not up to the standard of the Canadian railways.
While we're also on the topic of Canada, I recently ran a poll today that was how confident, or does the Canadian government basically kind of scare your confidence away from investing into some of these Canadian companies? Because from the US perspective, and I don't know if this is the same inside of Canada, it seems like the government is not the most loved by the people of Canada right now. I don't know if that's just from an outside perspective, but I haven't been like seeing great press on it. So from somebody who's actually in Canada, is there like any truth to that actually, or do you think that like the government in Canada, like, do you think that actually could have an impact on some companies?
Yeah, yeah. The Canadian economy, like you said in the press, we don't have much love for our leaders at the moment. I'll say that as politically correct as I can,
We'll get
but
canceled.
but when they're trying to take down our news outlets from providing us news off of Google, they're trying to do those type of things. Enforce Google to pay our Canadian news outlets so we can access news on the internet. I don't know if you guys saw that. So there's a lot of things happening, and Canada just loves its monopolies. So they let these large companies like the railways, for example, or even our telecom services. Like, you have so many more options in the United States from who you can buy your cell phone. We literally have three or four, and
That's
they
crazy.
run. Yeah, it's Rogers, it's Telus. We have Bell. Like there's not much competition here in Canada because of those stringent regulations. So it's a little more of a tug and pull here in
Hmm.
Canada. But in terms of investing, it can be good and bad, right? Like, you have monopolies. Those companies are going to control everything. On an investment side, that can be good. But as a consumer, you're kind of losing on that side. So I would say there's nothing really that's going to change my investment thesis on Canada. We have a resource rich company. We are going to continue to produce economic output. But in terms of future growth, I do see it stagnating behind the US. So I do have a mix of US and Canadian equities, and I
Nice.
try to keep it pretty balanced just because Canada's, again, a lower growth story, in my opinion. I think it's analogous or a little bit higher than the Europe market, but US really is where the growth is going to come from.
All right. We only have you for a few more minutes here. So I want to jam these questions in. We got Matt who asks us all a question, which is what is the largest dividend that we've all received? I'll start. I got a $22 dividend from SCHD, none other. Fiscal?
Nice. Let me think here. I want to say like $260 or something before the MPW dividend cut. I
Oh,
think might have been the biggest.
Well, yeah, mine was from TD Bank. I think it was a couple $100.
nice.
Yeah, so still in that building stage and reinvesting for growth. So
It gets exciting though when you start getting like you start comparing with your dividends what you could buy with them, and then that's when it gets exciting. And then lastly, Matt asks what dividend stocks at the top of our watch lists. I think this is a question mainly for Dave, but I guess we all want to answer it. Home Depot for me.
nice,
Probably Discover Financial for me.
nice. I would say I have two. You're not gonna be surprised. One is a bank. That's Equitable Bank, EQ Bank. You guys can search that up, or your viewers. It's actually beaten all the banks, including JP Morgan and Bank of America, in terms of total return over the past, I think, 15-year period. It's produced about 16% a year, and
What's the
that
ticker?
it's EQB on the TSX. So when you look that up, it's an online bank, so they don't have overhead of any branches. Everything is done online only, and they give out loans for multi-units. They invest heavily and provide loans for tenant properties. So when you look at EQB over the past, over a longer time period, you'll see it's gone up quite tremendously.
That's crazy price action for a bank, I'll be honest.
Yeah, yeah. You again, it's all price movement and your valuation. And the other one I would say would be to look at is ATD, Alimentation Couche-Tard. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but sorry, ATD, D as in Dave.
Christ, nope, I don't want my Google. ATDs.
Now, if you look at it on a max, this is a convenience store operator. They are a serial acquirer, and they are one of the best growth stories I've ever seen in my life. So,
oh my Lord, talk about consistency.
yeah, they
Sounds
just
like Costco
produce
stuff.
cash flow, and they just continue acquiring small mom and pop convenience stores, and then they turn them into their own brand, and then they just operate them efficiently. So these are two other ones I suggest you guys look out for.
We will. All right, Dave. It was a pleasure having you on. We were about the 20-minute mark. We got all your time expired, but it was an absolute pleasure. Once again, if you'd like to plug anything, and if you don't want to plug anything, talk about how great Costco is for the next 20 seconds.
Oh, to Charlie, Costco is my top performing stock. So that it is right there, up 60%. But thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Fiscal. If you guys want to check out my channel, it's at the Dividend Investors CPA on YouTube. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
What a treat. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you for coming.
What a treat.
Wow.
All right. If everybody's probably gonna leave now because it's just us, but well, that was fun. I was definitely very interested to hear about a bunch of the Canadian banks because it's something that you always kind of hear about. Like you got to in the back of your head, but you never do the proper due diligence. But
I don't think I'd ever heard what he said about Canadians having so many monopolies.
Yeah,
that really surprised me because when I think of he used telecoms as an example, I don't think of us as having all that many options really when it comes to phones. I think, oh, we've got AT&T, Verizon, and like T-Mobile if you're on a budget, and Mint if you love Ryan Reynolds. But I don't really think of there as being many other. I mean, we do have a few other options. There's Xfinity Mobile. There's still US Cellular in the Midwest and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could get a track phone too if you live in the ghetto. But
yeah.
Which
you're Saul Goodman either. You're Saul Goodman. No, I was definitely
don't mess with the phone guy.
But hey, we didn't do our proper intro. We were on a bit of a rush this one. We got a lot of value out of that 20 minutes. We're gonna put the temperature back down, get the AC on, but check out the Do Dividend Stocks Not Drugs merchandise if you haven't already.
What is this?
Check it out. We're matching 2 weeks in a row. Men in Black. You guys already know where to go for that. The link's in the description. But also, are you looking for work right now? Are you guys looking for work? Are you looking to become a partner? Like a Starbucks partner? Well, if that's the case, and if you're interested in potentially, working with two of the best in the business, getting your, foot in the social media game, getting a little clout, make sure to DM one of us. We're looking for somebody to work with behind the scenes to keep the Cash Flow Kings train rolling, just like CNI or CP. So what a treat, absolutely, to have Dave on. Thank you very much, Dave. It was a great time. Hopefully we can have you back on again sometime. But everybody, also another thing, we're almost at 100 subscribers. It felt like just yesterday. It was October, and we were thinking, can we get 50 by the end? And it's going to be the same way when we're about to hit 500 in a few months. So it's wild. Thank you all very much for the support. Truthfully, it's been a wild ride.
It has. But, consistency pays off.
All right. We got Uncle Cody in the chase. Says, hello, my name is Vince. Now, I know you're an avid wrestling fan, a WWE fan. I know you know your stuff. Have you seen the Vince McMahon headlines?
Only what you guys have discussed in the Discord.
Woo! So, as you guys would know, TKO earlier this week announced a deal with Netflix to basically hand over their streaming rights for $5 billion for 10 years. As a TKO shareholder, I'm very happy about that. TKO really doesn't have to give up much assets besides obviously the WWE. And it's not like it's going to give only more exposure and more money in my pockets. Very happy about that. But then last night, Vince McMahon, and if you're an original WWE fan, you got to respect Vince at the bottom of your heart. But Vince McMahon he's been a dirty dog recently, let's just say. He's been accused, and it doesn't look good for him. It's the texts are out. You can go do them. I really don't feel like getting.
Is this a hashtag Me Too situation?
Oh, this is beyond a Me Too situation. This is Cody just unsubbed. No, it's I was reading some of the texts and I was a little baffled myself. And you know how you can text, you know how you can tell when it's an old person texting too?
Yeah.
Just like the way you could just tell. He was like using you, like the U instead of YOU.
Yeah.
But
I haven't seen any. I really haven't seen any of it.
You don't want to.
Can you give us the PG-13 version?
Let me think here. I want to buy so much dividend stocks for you, but you only have to buy dividend stocks for me and my friend. I want to drip you up and down in passive income and dividends, and I want to do it in a non-qualified tax manner.
Oh, that is dirty.
Yeah, so it's pretty bad. And all of a sudden, as I start saying this, a bunch of people come into the stream. So welcome everybody. Also, we might have double D's coming on stream later too. We're on the half-hour mark.
You know what I say? Whenever a pair of double D's walks into the room, you're about to have a good time.
Speaking of double D's, next week we also have a really big guest too. If you guys want to take guesses in the chat, we haven't been disappointing recently. I'm just gonna say that. But for 100 subscribers show, guys, if all you got to do, guys, if you smash the like button right now, there could be some really big guests coming on here soon. But I'm very, very excited for the future of the Cash Flow Kings live. I want these companies to unload their dividends on me. Unload your free cash flow on me, baby. So Vince,
if you want to feel their stream of free cash flow.
It might be from Twink Stock Hostess. No. So Vince left the TKO board. So that's been a bit of a damper on my TKO holding this week, but it's traded down like 0.5% after hours, so it's not really.
You know, honestly, I'm gonna tell you this. I would not be shocked at all if this all turned out to be like a staged publicity thing, and like he ends up like coming in like a robe and where like his face is obscured, and then like Shane McMahon reveals it was him all along on the other end of the like he was on both ends of the text conversation.
I miss the days where Vince was more involved with all the skits in the WWE.
Yeah.
No, it's speaking of earnings this week, it was a pretty big week.
Oh yeah, it was.
And it wasn't because MPW, even though we already got that thumbnail.
No,
we got our thumbnail out of the way.
No, it wasn't.
It could rather because of Netflix. Tesla. I bet Joey C was all fired up about Tesla and Netflix this week.
Yeah. I knew he was right and we were wrong.
Yeah, they did they did. They did a lot of bad. I was rewatching a bunch of WWE last night because the Royal Rumbles tonight. And
yeah, there isn't one of the Vince McMahon like memes that gets used a lot with like him making like a face is when they were joking about this kind of stuff. So like, is anybody really surprised?
I know.
Is anybody surprised? But yeah, Intel.
Oh,
yeah.
You're a fallen knife investor once again. It's back.
Well, actually, I'm still massively up on Intel, but yeah, no,
it doesn't matter. It's still garbage because it went down.
It did dump a little on me. And I'm not even getting texts from Vince McMahon. But PayPal shocked the world by talking about AI a lot.
AI. Yeah, PayPal. We have a big week upcoming too, and if you guys want to really, get the dig on what's going on in earnings season and the stocks that we're buying and selling, check out the weekly recap. It's the best place to be on Sundays. 100%. But all I can say, the weekly recap this week it's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be tremendous. I gotta tell you that.
The dividend investor comes in. He forgets to mention AXP. I would recommend you examine their earnings as well. Great company, affluent customer base, and double-digit growth. I like this. We didn't even talk like a whole lot about Costco as well.
Right.
We could have made the argument that Costco's
Charlie Munger
overvalued.
is rolling in his grave. May God rest his soul. That we didn't talk more about Costco.
I know. That's unfortunate. That really is. Yeah. So double D's should be coming on, everybody. So be ready for that. I want to talk about Intel.
Yeah, me too.
Shh. Intel. How does it feel? It just feels like you're up, you're down. You're up, you're down.
I mean,
Nothing's.
no.
I'm sure nothing's changed in your thesis.
Well, here's my journey with Intel. To recap, I was down, and then I was down more, and then I was down more, and then I was down a lot more, and then I was massively up, and now I'm just less up. Is how I look at it. I'm up however much I'm up, plus the dividends I collected along the way, and the options premium I collected along the way. So I'm still doing fine on Intel. It's still my biggest position, and if you think about why it dropped 10% after beating, by the way, top and bottom line, the guidance wasn't as good as what some hedge funds or whatever were hoping for, basically. And so
the expert analysts,
these professionals that that jump in and out of everything every quarter, yeah. So I'm good with it, honestly. Like, it was supposed to be a long-term thing, them building up their fab business and all that, and that's multiple years to do, and it hasn't even happened yet. So I think it's a little. I mean, I don't know if like this is just me thinking about Vince again, but I feel like they're a little premature.
well, it wasn't premature, but
it's a premature release of shares. If you if you ask me, but yeah, I'm in it still.
He wasn't impressed by the earnings interview. Ooh, are we talking about Patty Gelsinger? Sustainable dividend. Speaking of earnings interview, the PayPal CEO, he went a little viral this week.
Yeah.
He mentioned AI a few times, I heard.
Yeah.
Would you like to inform the people?
So to this point, I have only read the press release. I was actually thinking about actually doing like a reaction style video, like watching his presentation for the first time, because I heard about how cringe it was. I wasn't really expecting I think if you write a big check by saying you're going to shock the world, the likelihood that you're going to like actually back that up in a real way is pretty low in most cases. So I was kind of expecting this to happen. But, hopes and dreams. I was hoping for something a little bit better than just talking up AI. If I wanted somebody to talk up AI, I'd be buying Nvidia right now.
Nvidia. The date. Speaking of Nvidia, you may or may not have heard, but I'm doing a research project, or I did, on government insider trading.
Yeah. Yep.
These people are dirty. This is.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that 33% of the Congress members outperformed the S&P 500 last year?
I knew that one of the actual best stock traders of like the last 20 years is Nancy Pelosi.
It's a coincidence. She also made a pretty big Nvidia transaction after there'd be another semiconductor announcement between the Biden administration. They give them some more grants, so it's pretty interesting to see that.
Yeah,
Nancy's buying up your semis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly, no matter how much Nancy Pelosi buys calls, I do still think Nvidia is overpriced.
Nvidia will be overpriced for the rest of humanity with its current valuation.
I don't necessarily think that. For a while people thought Tesla would be, really, really overpriced forever, but I think that what happened here recently shows that if they disappoint, people are willing to sell. And meet Kevin's special analysis where he said that they're going to be doing like $3 trillion in revenue and trade at 100 PE may actually turn out not to have been correct after all.
Oh, we got Frank in the chat. It's not Frankie anymore. That's a little upsetting. You change it back to Frank. It's not Frankie. The first name. Nvidia and Broadcom are overpriced. I get enough Broadcom exposure through SCHD, so I'm fine with that.
I do. I actually have Broadcom in my SCHD destroyer, but I like everything else in there too. Much better than what SCHD has.
I heard SCHD selling a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The Pepsi's on the screen. They're selling a lot of stuff in March, so it's really going to be interesting. Check out the weekly recap once again tomorrow. Pepsi may or may not be on the chopping block, or it was this week, so it's the best place to be on Sundays.
Are they replacing it with something better?
I would actually argue Pepsi's better stock.
Yeah. I would actually rather have Pepsi stock than Coke stock.
Yeah. All right, fiscal earnings are the fun part of earnings are still here. It's like Christmas. It's like tomorrow's like the 25th because Starbucks reports on Tuesday. But regardless, do you still see blood in the water this week, next few weeks?
I think there could be some damage.
Ooh, I'm getting ready. I'm telling you, I'm building up a cash, but I'm getting ready for a nice dip.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: sometime in February, we don't have an exact date. MPW reports.
Oh boy,
that's gonna be a wild day. I'm gonna get thousands of views that day.
You should be unemployed for that day and just upload 5 times.
Upload 5 MPW videos all with the same thumbnail.
Same thumbnail, same title. Dave comes in. AI is the talk of the town. Picking the winner of winners will be hard. I focus more on the backbone of AI. Data, infrastructure. What's going to be required to go on regardless. That's what I'm saying.
So, and to my point, as far as, the backbone of that, what's more of a backbone to AI than the physical computer chips that actually run the computers? And who is the only, to my knowledge, fully integrated chip company? The fully vertically integrated.
MPW.
It's Intel. No, yeah, it's MPW. So they're running their hospitals using AI. Duh.
Oh. Sorry. You want to know what a real AI company is? It's Kroger, everybody. I tried to warn you before it goes up.
Guys, Kroger and Domino's.
Kroger, Domino's, and if I'm feeling frisky, Starbucks.
Yeah, those are the real. They're basically a bank, and we all love banks.
Yeah. Well, apparently not Lena Khan. But so I want to talk about, I've been doing some future planning recently. Now, what do the words equity analyst say to you? Get excited, don't you? You get excited. It's a fun job. A lot of money. It's a lot of money.
I'm quite excited. I just checked.
That's a profession that I'm definitely looking into. I'd also financial advising sounds fun, but at the same time, it'd be just like, I'm gonna buy you SPY and that's it. All right.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of requirements you have to get for that, where I feel like a private or even public, just
so
doing what I already do.
Fully into finance then.
Oh, we're going finance, I think.
Yeah.
I just, business is too broad, and finance, if I'm looking at getting my little financial independence arc going early here, the more money I can get out of college, which with finance, it looks like that. If I can just chill, go over companies' financials all day and give a buy, sell, or hold thesis, whatever I'm doing right now.
Get your Series 7, work at Schwab or something.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll just chill. That's all I got to do. I like the hardware for AI or data centers. Ooh. I'm sure Realty Income will be branching into that soon.
Another AI business. Yeah.
Right now in the real estate.
Once they've jumped the shark once Realty Income starts talking about AI at their earnings calls. Can you imagine? I hear Walgreens is also getting into AI.
Yeah.
Any day now.
You're thinking of all the stocks that are down. Oh my goodness gracious. Double D's is in here.
Whoa.
Dividend dude, how long have you been in here for? Did I miss you?
I've been there for like 5 minutes, but it's all right.
I feel horrible.
Fashionably
all right. Welcome in, Double D's. It's a good time to have you on. We got earnings to talk about. You're about to hit 1K. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah.
You're about to have so much money. There's too much winning. You're gonna say, please. It's too much winning.
Too much.
Heard that one before.
You're going to be making literally tens of dollars a week. What are you going to do with all that cash?
You're going to have too much.
You're going to buy the merch, right?
Yeah. You're going to have
first YouTube paycheck.
Wait till you get the $6 payday. That's when stuff kicks off. But welcome in,
Six-
Double D's.
Isn't there like a minimum on that?
Yes, $100
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah.
$6 per day. Oh, that's how you know you've made it.
True passive income.
And then if you really want to become entrepreneurial, you can upload 5 times a day. You can drop out of college. You can
I
live
got some
back at
thumbnails
home.
you can borrow, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't even have to
few
ask.
thumbnails.
It's cool.
I'll lend you a few thumbnails. We can get a few. You could even start a spreadsheet integration.
Take the titles, upload like 10 times a day. You know, like get a
Exciting
couple
stuff
thousand
going on.
views. Drop out of high school and college and live off
You can
healthcare.
Just replace me with a stock photo.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Speaking of that, everybody, we have a very, very exciting guest for next week. And if anybody wants to take any guesses, but I will say that he's been very active and very vocal on Twitter when it comes to the entire DT situation. So, and it's a pretty big guest. It's probably our biggest so far. So very excited to have him on. And then for 100 subscribers, who knows? We could have. There's another channel with 100 coming up soon. So we could have some big stuff going on here.
Huge.
Yep,
Absolutely huge.
Huge. Speaking of huge, Double D's, I was hearing some Intel slack from you.
Well, I mean, you know, I just think Intel is probably like the bottom of the barrel of chip companies. You have, you know, Taiwan Semiconductor, NVIDIA, AMD. These companies are all doing really well with AI. They're capitalizing off the AI boom, and then you just have Intel sitting in the back watching them run up. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And if you look at like the financials, Intel, they're not doing the best. And in terms of guidance, I would think that like, you know, they would raise guidance with the big AI boom, but they just haven't done that. And I seriously, I'm not 100% sure like what's going on with them.
Now, I will say here first and foremost, I am not an AI fanboy. In fact, I've sold my Intel and I've sold at a pretty big loss. But when it comes to somebody disrespecting Pat Gelsinger, it won't be going fly by me. Dividend, dude, I want to come to defense of Intel a little bit here. You could see the free cash flow has been in a decline. Do you know why that is in a decline?
Not 100%.
I do. I mean, but
why is it in decline, Fisk? Why?
A little something called capital expenditures, my friends.
Yes, capital expenditures.
Oh, wait, I did hear though that they are like along with you know, the one I held, Taiwan Semiconductor, they are getting some packages from Biden, so that should help them with that. Yeah.
Biden is giving them a bunch of tax grants as well. But if I can pull up they have capital expenditure. Yeah, here we go.
They
capital
have a lot, yeah.
Oh, what's this? Quarterly capital expenditure. No, this is fake. Let's see. No, but their capital expenditures are ridiculous. Maybe in the key financials. Net debt that should show up or not.
What's going on?
Yeah,
here we go.
There it is.
All right, yeah, we can see the debt has been.
Yeah, I mean, you might say that, oh well, NVIDIA is really capitalizing on AI, but they have like 8 times the market cap with less than half the revenue. It's like at some point the music stops playing and somebody's left without a chair.
I'm not saying they're undervalued. They're completely overvalued. The valuation is ridiculous for them. I'm just they're doing well with AI as well as some other ones, but like I just haven't seen that with Intel. I'm not talking about the valuation specifically.
Oh,
yeah, we can see obviously Intel here. It's been on a bit of a. I mean, still like over the last couple of years. I mean,
but yeah, it's done. You know,
okay, it's solid. It's been very solid for where it was at. Like it's when I sold. Go back when I sold, like $20.
You know, most people they try to pick the bottom to buy.
Oh, all right. You know what?
Oh, no.
I could make an MPW joke right now, but
hey,
you're wearing that shirt. You're wearing that shirt, boy. Do you guys consider Qualcomm as a semiconductor or AI company? Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't know enough about Qualcomm, to be honest. I don't. I haven't really researched into them at all.
You know, I think their stuff is more on the communications side of things.
Yeah. Oh.
For Qualcomm, like their technology is used in cellular devices and and even like in the trucking industry for the e-logs and like ELDs and GPS devices that are in a lot of the trucks and stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
As far
More
as
like
I'm
a
aware,
backbone
that's
kind of company, you know.
Hmm?
I think it's kind of like more of a backbone company, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think their technology is like super important for a lot of very basic things that we rely on.
Speaking of another semiconductor company, Texas Instruments. This is one that's not talked a lot about.
Ooh.
They have massive capital expenditures too coming up.
Yeah. I heard about that too. Texas Instruments. I was looking at them before, but it doesn't interest me like Taiwan Semiconductor does.
I always think of Ross Perot when I think of Texas Instruments.
Yeah, I just think of a math calculator for like my class. I don't know.
Yeah. What about TSM makes it more appealing, or for you at least, than Intel?
Well, for Taiwan Semiconductor, one of the reasons that I like it so much is I first of all, I really like Apple stock. It's one of my highest conviction stocks, and Taiwan Semiconductor simply happens to be one of the largest manufacturers for Apple stock. And
Do
they're
you know
just
who
like
was the manufacturer a few years ago, though, before Taiwan Semiconductor?
Intel, right?
It was
Yep.
Intel.
And it was 1% of Intel's revenue.
Yeah.
Badass.
But for Taiwan Semiconductor, I like the stability with the large companies. The big risk is obviously China invading Taiwan, but they've been
Fiscal.
building headquarters
You gotta say it.
in the United States, and they've they've been moving more into the United States. And honestly, I don't see that as much of a risk anymore. And I think people being afraid of that has given me a better, I get the valuation appears better even now. Like I was able to buy it at $80 a share right when Buffett bought it, and then he sold it, but I didn't sell it because I still don't think it's going to happen.
Because you got diamond hands and Buffett's got paper hands.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of China, Dividend Dude, I may be incorrect here, but is it true that you are not touching Alibaba because of China?
If it gets to like a point where it's absolutely ridiculous, and I see some moves out of China, then I may be interested, but not right now. No.
If what gets ridiculous, specifically the valuation, because I would argue we're already there. That ship has sailed. We're in ridiculous valuation territory.
Financials.
The only thing I can imagine that would hold somebody back at this point is just the China fear.
But I did like seeing Jack Ma buy back shares like that. He believes in it. I liked seeing that. That was a good thing for them.
Yeah. It caused a little bit of a run up when the news came out that Jack Ma bought shares.
That's a good sign because he definitely believes that the company's like very undervalued.
Yeah, 14.2 P ratio, and in 2021, 117. Obviously, P isn't everything. I'll pull up the price to free cash flow.
Yeah, the free cash flow I believe is higher than the net income. So
yeah, look at that.
Wow. Yeah, and they've got a pretty aggressive buy, and I got a dividend from them recently too.
They are a dividend company.
Yeah, so
and also dividend. While we're on the topic of China, if China is an issue with Baba, could you also say the same thing with one of your new holdings, Starbucks, which we got to talk about? Because Starbucks has a lot of stuff in China.
Starbucks is big in China. I do know that. Yeah,
they are very big in China, and I would make the argument that if you're a little whimpery of China, Starbucks may not be the company for you.
Yeah,
I think that they have a lot of international growth to be had, though. Like as well, there's a lot of places where they're not fully grown, and just like how much people love the product, and like it's just appealing to me, especially like these valuations. They're more in the U.S. than China, though. They have that behind them, whereas Alibaba was 100% China.
Yeah, and it would be a problem for maybe the future growth of Starbucks. You would have to sharpen your pencil on those numbers a bit, but Starbucks wouldn't go to zero. And I think with Baba, they think, oh well, problem with China could mean goes to zero.
Yeah, it's
and I think with Starbucks, it's like you might take a dip on your valuation when you find out that those stores aren't going to happen that you've been counting on, but you'll still at least have all the US and all non-China international. So yeah.
Well, we're on the topic of Starbucks.
Yeah,
they report on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Do we have any predictions? Double D's, you've been making a lot of predictions recently when it comes to earnings. You're like that guy Josh from CNBC. The one, what's his name? Is it Josh Brown? CNBC. Yes, Josh Brown. You're like Josh Brown from CNBC. You're making
No, I'm
all
not.
these. You're
No, I
making
don't
all
think
these predictions.
I don't want the reputation that I'm like somehow predicting. I have no clue if they're going to beat or miss. I just,
You're a
you know.
genius stock picker. You should start a course.
Okay,
Maybe
nice.
a spreadsheet. So, do you have any? You're a new Starbucks shareholder. You're part of the cult. We're waiting for Fiscal to join us. We're gonna start having a lot of Satanist elitist meetings up in Hollywood.
So I'll tell you this: if Starbucks has a disappointment
Hey,
at
no,
earnings, and
if the
share
stock
price
price is a
falls,
disappointment.
if the share price falls, well, that's when I get interested. So
Should I focus on finding a girlfriend or should I max out my TFSA? I think you should max out the TFSA. You're either doing curls or you're piping girls. That's my philosophy.
You've got to do the Scarface order of operations. First, you get the money.
Yes.
Then you get the power. Then you get the women.
First, you get the money. Then you get the power. Then you get the women. All right. So that's our piece of advice. He needs Shopify to have a horrible
earnings report.
Okay.
What?
Good earnings report. I misinterpreted that. ER. But let's go into Starbucks. So Starbucks, this should be the holiday season report, if I'm correct. This should be the reflections of their holiday doings. I think they'll have a beat. I could envision a world where it goes up a decent amount in one day, but I could also envision a world.
Yeah, I could see both, to be honest.
I could see where they make earnings, but at the same time, like all the unionizations, they're little. Yeah. I know they're involved with politics a little right now with that Palestine situation. Not a lot of people from them are really. They're banging on windows. They're not doing dividend stocks, not drugs. Let's just say that.
I'm not saying that this is like, but anecdotally, every single Starbucks that's near me that I've been to has still been packed. Like,
yes,
I haven't seen any
type
of
New
like
York
issues,
City,
like,
to be fair.
Well, yeah, all right, yeah.
That in mind.
I will give you guys this. You guys know I like to travel a little bit. Every time I'm at the airport, there's tons of people lining up at the Starbucks, and they're paying airport Starbucks prices. Can you imagine?
A medium drink was $7.75 in
my
November.
$10 dividend I get from one of my random stocks will barely cover that.
I know.
Also, I go overseas. I'm in the mall in Manila, Philippines, and there's a Starbucks there. And what do you know? It's crowded constantly. So, I mean, it's anecdotally, but it looks good when I can basically put a pin anywhere on the map and I travel there. And when I see a Starbucks, I see that it's packed and booming.
And there are still markets that Starbucks has had to tap into yet. Obviously, a big part of China, India too. India.
Oh my God.
More parts in like Canada too as well. I know that obviously that's just a lot of woods up there and in Toronto. So shout out to the dividend investors for CPA. We need the Canadian Starbucks reports as well.
Yep, you got to do that Jeremy style due diligence and
you got it out. You got to take pictures of people buying Starbucks and send them on the Discord link in the description.
Like the really big Starbucks fans, like there's like ones on TikTok and different things. They have like specific drink customizations, and they'll go every single morning. It's like consistent stream, and no other place gives those customizations to all those people. And it's like there's like only Starbucks. That's why Dunkin' is not going to compete with them in my opinion in the long term.
Ghetto.
So have you guys ever
like
done the math?
Cosmics?
Like if you went to Starbucks every single morning and got like a one of those drinks that they're talking about with all their customizations and stuff, like what you would spend in 1 year at Starbucks.
Oh man.
Don't want to talk about I get a coffee, dude. I don't pay like $8 for a drink. I get a coffee and I'm out. I need my caffeine.
I think it's around, what is it, $3,000 a year if you did that every day? If it's just one drink?
$100. No, about $1,000 a year if you did coffee a day. It would
1,500
be
to
like
two.
$4.
No, well, I'm talking about one of those like bougie drinks.
Oh,
Yeah,
probably
1,500
2
to
or
2
3.
grand, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. Depends on the exact drink and
Or
the
maybe
size.
3 grand's a little bit of a stretch.
I have an
3 grand's a
unpopular
little high,
opinion.
but not by much, to be honest with you.
I have an unpopular opinion, and Fiscal, I know you're going to scold at this. I put it on Twitter earlier today. $5 coffee is worth it if it helps your productivity. It's my opinion.
Probably. I mean, if it helps
My
your
opinion.
productivity. Yeah.
Productivity and mental health.
But I mean, you could. I mean, I guess.
You say you're addicted. Say you're addicted.
It's a stretch to say that a $5 coffee, quote unquote, helps your mental health.
I need it. I need it all day.
Okay, along with your support animal and your safe space and
my tissues.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Fiscal. I think once we file the LLC or S corp for Cash Flow Kings, we should claim disability for emotional trauma after MPW.
And then I can check into one of their mental health facilities to help their bottom line.
Abuse the insurance too.
They can bill they can bill Medicaid for me.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're on the 5-minute warning. Send any questions, any comments, any concerns for any of us. It's been a good hour. I'm ready to watch the Royal Rumble tonight. I'm getting excited.
To be honest,
if anybody predicts who wins tonight, I'll get them a free T-shirt. So
who's going for it? Who are the options?
There's 30 options. It's anybody in the WWE. So you got to.
Who are your like top 3 that you think had the best?
Well, the Royal Rumble's weird because it's do you know like the format of it? It's it's 30 wrestlers, and every minute a new one comes out, but you don't know who it's going to be. It's a surprise sometimes. So it's really like 50-50.
All right, so here's what I would hope for.
I hope
granted, this has like a very low, near zero chance of happening, but The Undertaker comes out of retirement and surprises everybody and takes it all.
Oh, I want Kane to come back. He won't, though. He's like a politician now. I grew up with Kane. There are rumblings of The Rock coming back because he joined the TKO board this week.
Yeah, he can be in all the sketches and stuff like Vince used to be because he's on the board now. He's corporate Dwayne Johnson.
Corporate. I'm sure he's still physically fit to come back. I wouldn't be shocked if they brought him out.
Dwayne the Suit Johnson. He's not even The Rock anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with. I don't think I even know a single wrestler.
Oh, you guys will get a dick. Any of you grew up with WWE?
Nah.
Yeah, I mean it was all over in the 90s. You know, you couldn't escape it.
The Attitude
Even
Era.
if you didn't watch it, the commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't remember, it used to be when you watch TV, there were ads that played, and it wasn't just a YouTube thing.
I was always a big basketball fan. Like even when I was growing up, that's pretty much what I was.
All I remember is Jeremy Lin. That's all I remember from my.
Hey, the Knicks are good now. Don't hate on them. They're very good.
And Curry in the 5th grade. So
Curry
those are fun days.
But yeah, during the time I was a kid, it was all about either like some people were still like really into like the 80s guys like Hulk Hogan and stuff. And but like The Undertaker was peak popularity when I was a kid.
You got to be Kane. I was a hardcore WWF fan. Roberto, who's going to win tonight then? You got to get your chance at free merch.
Oh, yeah.
Owen Hart dying. Rowdy Roddy Piper. The Congressman Bob Bat something. If you guys know who that is. We got John Cena. I grew up in like the 2000s. Like, so like 2005 to 10 was like what I actually watched. But like, I would always rewatch like the Attitude Era. I can respect that.
I mean, you can find all the old matches on YouTube nowadays.
Oh yeah, I rewatch them.
There was one where The Rock fought Mankind it was like a dining room or something where they were setting up like a buffet, and hits him in the face with salsa, so like it gets in his eyes and stuff, and he's like screaming, and then The Rock takes a chip and like scoops the salsa like off his face and like out of his eye and like eats it. And he's like, "What are you crying for? That's mild salsa."
Shut
great
up,
stuff.
bitch. All right. thank you all very much for making it to the end. Dividend Dude, thank you for coming on for the latter half. Plug anything you'd like to. You're about to hit 1K. You're going to be drowning in money.
I mean, yeah, the name is just what is shown. But wait, before we go, I just want to talk. There's also like there's still like way more significant. There's MasterCard and Google. Those are like the ones I'm too interested in. Both those are like I'm watching them like a hawk. I don't know.
Ooh.
That's true. They'll probably be big. I mean, MasterCard's run up a lot lately. And
I know.
You know, Google, I mean, they'll probably talk about AI, I imagine. And you know, I am curious. The one thing I'm curious about with regards to Google is probably what they report as far as ad revenue. Like, is ad spend looking
Yeah, I really
good,
do want to see
bad,
that.
ugly? Because I think that'll also impact. You know, this year, if ad revenue is decent, that'll probably be good for my Paramount stock. But Google, when they report, you know, they have the most data on ad spend than anybody else. So I always am interested to hear what they have to say about that.
Yeah, it's a big Starbucks week for me. We'll be covering it on the weekly recap. Also, before we head out, everybody, go check out the good-looking merch. And lastly, you know, once again, if anybody in the chat, you're looking for part-time work, eventually a paid-time role, a partnership in the Cash Flow Kings live channel, a fun role behind the scenes, if you like thumbnails. And
so on that topic, I have already agreed that once we are on the cusp of monetization, that I will foot the bill to form an LLC at my own expense.
Yep.
At my own expense.
All the MPW dividends are going to good use.
And yeah, I'll use my my Google paychecks I get from my own channel if I have to, and you know, get all that stuff set up. And yes, that we want the person or persons that help us behind the scenes to actually be partners in business partners with us in the channel.
Who wouldn't want to be? Who wouldn't want to get, you know, scandaled by Ryan one day? In 40 years, when I need clout, I'll accuse you of sexually assaulting me.
He embezzles all $206 of the ad revenue we get.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Go check out all of our channels. The link will be in the description. Thank you for Dave for coming on earlier. Great guest tonight. Thank you all for watching. Do Dividends, Stocks, Not Drugs. And remember, cash flow
is
king.